What's up, Jeff? What's up, Bud? How are you guys doing today? How's things going? I I was trying to figure out how to stream on both Twitch and YouTube at the same time, but I figured I would just do it on YouTube. It'd be an easy day to talk about we just talk about manga and whatever, and then I can go over any questions. We could talk about any of the new chapters. The Four Nights chapter is pretty good. The Eden Zero chapter is really good too. Unfortunately, Black Clover is still on hiatus. But there was one thing also. It's like I would definitely have the chance also to show my Twitch a little bit. It's probably much easier to talk about and just kind of like give a general give a general kind of like, hey, go check it out from my YouTube. It's got a little bit more of an audience. Actually, let me switch the background. I figured people would rather talk. Well, I'll just leave it on. I don't think anybody's gonna care as long as I talk. Here's a fella that I haven't heard from years. I think it was still in my Panda 340 QM account. Last time I saw anything about you, how's it go? How goes it, Rex? Well, I'm playing a little World of Warcraft while I set up my stream. I think it would probably. I'm trying to also shill my Twitch a little bit, just because I'm trying to do Twitch just as like something fun on the side, and let me post this here. If you want to go give this a look. But this is going to be one of the things I'm going to do a lot. I'm going to do, just kind of, look for mounts or whatever, and, WoW, and other kind of, older games that I just play regularly. But I'm planning on doing that more from, VOD. So it'd be kind of like how, I'll do a YouTube video or a stream to where, if you wanted to go check out something, whatever, I played a video game and talked about whatever topics. And also give me a chance also to talk about, any series otherwise on my channel that maybe not as many people want to talk about. Usually, they're gonna have the general questions. I'm gonna get stuff on Fairy Tail and Eden Zero, Black Clover, but stuff that I also really enjoy, like Mashal, Mission Yozakura, that Gachi Akuta series that recently came out. I wouldn't get the same. I'm not gonna get the same conversation, but it's if I have a smaller stream, obviously more set to this. Maybe those people can come there, and it'd be a little bit more isolated. Talk about those specific couple series. The Mission Yozakura has been really good in the last couple. That's Arcers. What was that sound? That was a deep click. I don't know what that was. How's my day? My day's been going pretty good. I think that, well, for one, it's not as hot today. Yesterday was way hotter than it was today. I didn't look at the temperature, but I swear it had to be in the upper 80s or something. I might be exaggerating, but it was pretty spicy out. Whereas today, I don't know, it feels like low 70s or something, kind of more tolerable and cool. Actually, I want to talk about the next 100 Years Quest chapter. Dude, the next 100 Years Quest chapter is going to be so hype. There's nothing else really going on. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why Mishima ended the Misaki and Urza fight as abruptly as it was. Because it needed to end before we got to this stuff. And he's probably trying to fit certain parts within, volumes for, covers. So, because the next volume, Volume 12, should have, focus on... probably, I would say most of all, Lucy and Kiria, but tease the stuff with Ignia and Celine. No, because that happens, because Ignia shows up, and you just don't get their, direct confrontation until a couple chapters later. Whereas, I feel like Volume 13 could either be set focused on Ignia versus Celine, or set focused on Natsu versus Ignia. We could easily have, some sort of Aetherius cover, which would be super hype. I would love to see that. Some just really good focus center of Natsu as a monster, fighting Ignia. This arc was for you. What's wrong with the arc? Or I guess which series? Which series' arc are you not liking right now, Sam? Eden Zero chapter is great. I like that you didn't cut away from the fight. Yeah, I'm always happy when it ends up being a completely focused fight chapter like this. That is more kind of, it's. I mean, I'm for sure that Rebecca's not dead and she's going to win in the end, but it puts her in a situation, obviously, against a stronger opponent that is going to probably push her to, to her limits. Probably, she's going to have to come up with something new, a new time ability, which would be really cool. Similar to, what was going on in the Kiria versus Lucy, ended with 102 being the way it was, and then was able to be smart and pull out a victory the next chapter. I assume that, the Nightmare ability, whatever he does to her, I don't think it's gonna last, just because like I don't think Rebecca should have to really worry too much about that kind of an ability. I feel like with all like already like the bad dreams that she knows have to do with her ability and time stuff, she probably is like already conditioned to stuff like this, like stuff that she knows is in her head. I think that she'd be able to handle it pretty fine. Yeah, Clown's really cool. I was very happy. I was very happy that Clown ended up being treated seriously. The whole Nightmare Clown is a pretty cool form. I like that it's both kind of like, it's like kind of badass scary, but it's also a little ugly in a good way. It has like very odd shapes in some of its areas, and I think that kind of just adds on to the creepy factor of it, which is, again, I've been hyped for Clown, and I've enjoyed him so far a lot. I really liked the way his attack looked when he's throwing the fire rings. Like he just kind of conjures stuff inside of his circus tent, and he's just throwing, you know, these little flaming rings. I don't know, it's badass. I like seeing like weird little attacks like that have, you know, they're gonna move uniquely. I mean, a fire ring obviously isn't unique to the like just this guy, but like just conjuring and then throwing like little fire ring attacks. I don't really know any other characters off the top of my head that has like an attack like that. I just like it. It's got like any of those like ring attacks. I also just really enjoy in general, like Galactic Donut, the original Fairy Glitter before it became more of like the giant kind of artillery drop AOE beam. Speaking of Curia fight, people downplay Lucy by saying Lucy only won because of Laxus. I mean, Laxus only took one slash. The thing is, what Laxus did is Laxus kind of like gave Lucy an idea. He helped in a sense of how Lucy fights, because the biggest thing about her moveset is that she has a very large arsenal of abilities, all that can now further progress combo together and like evolve into new skills. And Laxus definitely helped her, but not from a power level standpoint, because Lucy wanted her own power. Laxus just aided in kind of like helping Lucy figure out what exactly like she needed to kind of focus on, because it was about all the stuff with like the guild and obviously like their bond stuff together that put the general idea in Lucy's head to think back of events, and that's how she ended up obviously getting to Godfried, is thinking like, you know, just thinking about like the past that she's had with everybody, and she's able just to be like, oh yeah, here's the thing, bam, I got a plan, figured out a really smart way to win. Because like Lucy's the smartest person in her group. Like people will like downplay that all the time. The only people you could really say in the guild that are smarter than like Lucy were Mavis and Levy. And Levy's intelligence is different than Lucy's, because Levy's more like book smarts, whereas Lucy's like smart, but she's also clever, and she's really good at like figuring out clues. Like she has more of almost like a detective kind of thing going on. And we know that she obviously like was tracking people in the guild for over a year, so it's something that she's used to. Eden's are much better than Practically. Are you gonna say any reasons, Sam? You just seem upset. You just bought a detected. I mean, it seems like it. I don't know what's been the problem. I thought this arc's been pretty good. The only thing that I would say for sure though is if Misaki doesn't either get back up, or when she does get up, there's some form of follow-up to what happened, then I would be upset about that, because like her character would pretty much just be dumpstered. Like she would pretty much just be a character with a cool, you know, look, has cool design, cool ability, no real substance to her whatsoever. Like she just seems like right now she just has the similar kind of like mean vibe that Minerva had, but it's like Minerva had way more character and stuff to her, whereas Misaki could be that higher kind of level to her, you know, have more to her as well. Like she should have her own character, when all of the other members of Diablos have all had pretty good character to them. So it would just be, it'd be really unfortunate if Misaki didn't get anything relevant. She just kind of, that was it. Like she had a fight with Urza where she got caught, and it's not even like she got fully overpowered, because if she got fully overpowered, then Urza would have taken over her whole dimension. Whereas it took over a chunk of it, which should show that Misaki still is more powerful. She just seemed to get caught, and getting caught sometimes just happens. Like your character doesn't move out of the way and attack in time, can just get caught in something that otherwise they could dodge or brace themselves, but they just, you know, they get in that slipped foot kind of position, and then it just goes downhill for them. I think it'd be really cool for Ignia and Natsu to fight goes on. Natsu slowly starts to become full dragon. I would love to see a further progress thing. And we know that, like, Mishima has been kind of building on that aspect. I have a video that I really want to do soon on Instinct that I think the reason why a lot of that, what happened with Acnologia, is going to play into Natsu a lot. I have a big video I have planned on this coming up. I pretty much, like, I have the whole idea and I have my talking points. I just have to get to where I'm going to, pull out the panels I want to use and get everything established. And it might be why Ignia will, like, Ignia potentially isn't even the main end villain. There's somebody that could be there that I don't think a lot of people are seeing could be there, and we'll get to that when we get there. It might be for Natsu, might be for somebody else, but, like, there's two people like I think it could be. It doesn't have to be the biggest villain, but I feel like story-wise, like, it could be the biggest villain. The only other person would be Ankh-Saram. I like this arc so far. It's improving upon the last one. Like example, the Dark Stars so far seem more interesting, powerful notions, and are getting stronger. The whole thing is, like, I want to get confirmation that the form that Wizard had was overclocked, because it'd be really, like, it would make him look like an idiot if he knew this was an ability, he knew that he had it, and he just never used it. But I think it was. It's just one of those cases where he didn't say any abilities that would indicate it. It's just something that comes with him. And him getting it through absorbing another ether instead of just activating it would be fine, because that's an OP ability he has. He's going to use it almost every scenario. No, Ankh-Saram is logically right now the biggest enemy, the last villain, the most powerful big bad of Fairy Tail. But there is another character that I'm going to talk about, and I think it's one of those ones that people just don't consider. And again, it's what I believe Mishima has been laying very quietly through the series. I've got a big video I have planned on it. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's one of my favorite theory videos, essentially. It's probably one of my favorite Fairy Tail videos I've done. And I was thinking about making, it members only first. Like, at least for, like, a day or something, so they can kind of hear it. Like, I think I was considering doing that for some of my videos, maybe just, like, specific ones. Just because, like, this is, like, one that I think makes a lot of story sense, and it builds off of multiple things within the story that already existed that would make a lot of sense of why Mishima would have done them, instead of just them being there. Again, I don't want to give away any clues, but soon. I'm hoping to get it within, I might get it within the next week. I might get it within, like, before the next chapter, because there's 2 videos I really want to do before we get there. One of the ones I wanted to do before the chapter came out, I think I might actually push until after the chapter, because I want to wait to see what happens this chapter. I want to see if, like, we are going to get some E&D stuff. And then I might do this video that I'm talking about right now within the next day or so. Well, not day, but, within the week before next Tuesday. Dragon Card doesn't show where she learned it. Oh, we're talking about Grand Chariot. Dude, where am I seeing? Urza fight Masaki's BS where she learned Jalal magic. Well, we knew she had Grand Chariot from Dragon Cry, and Dragon Cry's canon. The problem is we didn't see when Urza learned it before Dragon Cry, whereas you can't complain about that now because we've known that she has it. We just, like, it's one of those ones where for Dragon Cry, it's like, yeah, where did she learn it? But for the Masaki fight, we've known that she's had it for over a year. Like, she's known the spell for over a year in the verse. So, like, it's actually kind of a funny cheat, because you can't complain about it this chapter because she just kind of learned it at a point we weren't too sure of a year plus prior in a canon movie. I actually think that's kind of funny, because it's such a, it's cheating almost, but because of, like, when it happened and it was so long ago and we've known about it, it's pretty much just like there. It'd be like if Natsu's just started using basic transformation magic. It's like we've known from, like, side stuff he's learned a very low level of transforming. He turned into Lucy at one point. And it's like, okay, he could do something like that in a scene, but it'd be so weird to see it. But it'd be like a fair cheat, which is funny. Does Ignia know about E&D? Animus knew about it. I mean, I'm sure he might. The thing is, like, there's a little bit of knowledge gap with Ignia that will determine it. Like, he could easily know, but
At the same time, I feel like he logically probably wouldn't, because he's been training this whole time. He doesn't really seem to have a lot of conversation with people outside of, like, the only person he seemed to really talk to is, at some point he talked to Selene and dealt with Selene and Mercphobia. With Mercphobia, he's the only one, he's like, Aldorm's asleep, and he makes a lot of comments about, to Mercphobia that display that they've had multiple different interactions. We don't have anything with Selene so far that seems like they've interacted a lot, but there's like a point, and I have another video I want to do on Ignia and Mercphobia, that he mentions, like, you know, going crazy like this isn't like you, or something along those lines, meaning that he has like a fair grasp on Mercphobia's like personality, his you know, who he is and how he acts. So clearly they would have interacted a lot before, or at least enough that he's familiar with him. But when you look at Ignia, I think logically might have never even heard about anything about the Aetherius or like E&D or any of that. And he makes a comment that, again, shows a little bit of an odd area with what he probably knows. It's when he shows up to fight Mercphobia. Well, sort of, not really. He shows up to aid. There's a little bit of aggression between them, but I guess I can't really say it's a fight. He shows up and he addresses the whole main cast as children of Ignial. And the reason that's really interesting is because he had never met Natsu before, but he knew of Natsu. And at the time, the whole main cast were buffed up from Wendy with the Dragon Attribute, so they were all, like, everybody outside of Wendy and Natsu were pseudo-Dragon Slayers, not real Dragon Slayers. And they ended up being mistaken, seemingly, by him as being part of the bunch, so he would have known exactly which one is Natsu when he was addressing them. Oh man, I gotta kill this man. I gotta kill this bird, I guess. I'm never gonna get that damn mount. But, I think that's a really strong telling piece about his character. Because there's, like, things about Ignia that he has that is either very abruptly mentioned about how he acts, or, like, there's times where I think he does have some, like, lingering emotional issues with Ignial, because usually when he talks about Ignial, there's a little bit of that kind of silence moment between, like, certain spots, where it's like, you know, there's a little bit more of a shadow. It seems like it seems more like there's something more to him, and then he kind of goes into that more vicious personality, where it seems like he doesn't care, and he just wants to, you know, flex his power and just battle and have a good time. I think Godjill is making Iron Bed for Lily. It's definitely not for Lily. I know Scullion, and I agree, Scullion and Madbolt need a damn fight. Well, the thing is, like, Godjill needs a fight. Godjill can't just be here with no fight. Like, what's the point of him? Like, Mishima needs to do something with him soon if Madbolt and Godjill aren't supposed to have a battle. Whereas Gray and Scullion, we know Gray wants to have a second match. He wants that extra match. That's something Gray has always done when he loses somebody. He wants to go try and beat him. And that's how, like, constantly Natsu and Gray had been fighting for so many years, because Natsu would always, like, try and challenge anybody, and then, like, anytime that he lost, he'd want to go fight Gray, and then anytime Gray loses, like, he's gonna either, well, I mean, anytime Gray loses, he's gonna want to come back and fight, and then anytime that Natsu loses, he's gonna come back and automatically want to fight him, and they're just gonna continuously be in a loop. So, I don't know. Like, I lost my train of thought on that. I don't know where I was going with that. I was just talking about the characters. Oh, Scullion and fucking Scullion. Like, it's gonna make complete sense for him to want to fight Scullion again. It would be upsetting to me if he didn't. Guys, remember to click the like button. I would appreciate that if you guys would like the button, like the stream. I'm thinking about doing, besides, like, any additional stream, I'm probably gonna do on Twitch, but I do want to keep up my normal chapter streams, or at least talking about stuff. Like, I might just move. I'll probably keep my live chapter reactions on this channel, on this on my YouTube. And then my additional stuff I'm probably going to do in Twitch. Not entirely, but, like, maybe eventually, just for more of, like, my streaming stuff, because it's easier for me to store streams over there than on here. Gray becoming a side character like Godjill and Jalal. Well, Jalal's not a side character, sort of. Like, he's closer to, like, Godjill, where he's like main cast adjacent, to where he'll get cycled in regularly. Gray's not irrelevant. I don't know what you mean. Gray just hasn't had a moment yet this arc. It hasn't gotten to the point where Gray should have a big focus point, because the person that he logically would have that with is currently... Well, I mean, right now he's unknown, but as far as we know, Scullion is not up yet. But Scullion Madmal should be able to get up for multiple reasons. Like, for instance, the fact that there should be bones in the labyrinth. So he just finds some bones, dude, and eat them. Bam, back to full power. Well, how has Celine been a bad writing? So far, Sam, you've just said things aggressively and upsettingly. Like, you're just frustrated, but not giving any form of basis. Are you going to give an argument? Probably not. I already in this mindset that Celine will turn good. Well, Celine doesn't have to be good, because Celine is not necessarily bad. Celine is just somebody who has too much power with that kind of personality. If she hasn't done anything entirely like beyond redemption, she hasn't gotten to that like pure evil point or something like too bad. Because like the thing is, there are factors with Celine we have to take into account. One, we don't really know anything about Celine's past. We don't know like the specifics about Celine. And two, she's doing things that that's beneficial to her. She's a dragon. They don't have allegiance. There's no reason that she has to be nice to anybody or do anything good. It's more of that dividing line when they start doing things for no real reason other than to do them. Like Ignia going around destroying countries for no reason whatsoever is more in that line. Whereas like Celine does bad things, and Celine is like, she's nearing that treading line. Like she's obviously on the way to it. But I mean, like even like the stuff with getting rid of the other dragon gods for like the good of humans, and pretty much just like the only benefit is she would be the most powerful. There's obviously like some ego and power stuff to her, like in that aspect, and wanting to be on top. But it's one that does benefit people way more than it does, conflict to them. It would be actually very beneficial to a lot of people to take that danger out in the world. And honestly, like, the thing about it is, like, it's Celine being the most powerful person, and if she's in charge, if you have one definitive ruler, though there, it would kind of, like, it could very easily put in that, what is it, that kind of, like, unified, singular kind of force bad guy, which could knock out a lot of other things, and she's not going to go around, I would imagine, just, like, causing tremendous havoc. She would probably be one of those people that is, like, she goes somewhere, you got to be careful. It's kind of like Beerus. Kind of like Beerus, where it's like, Beerus could be a horrible time, or he could just be like a passerby. You just entertain him enough, and then they'll go. You really need to fight Jin. Yeah, Jin's had a lot of lack of focus this whole time skip. He hasn't... That's one of the things I really want to get back to that I haven't liked too much, like, about the time skip. But it's more of... I think it's more of a... We're just getting to that point. I assume all of the fights for the main cast of the Eden Zero will pretty much fix literally everything I'm saying right now about some of the characters not getting a lot of spotlight. But I think everything that we've seen was obviously more of setting the stuff with Shiki and Mishima probably, and like Mishima's head, what months to us is probably like, he's like, okay, I'm gonna come out of the time skip and we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then we're gonna get to Lendard and we're gonna have this fight. Like, he probably like thought of the base structure of what was gonna happen in like a half hour, because like everything that's happened so far is pretty, in the overall structure, like he could easily think of over for like 10 minutes. Get out of the time skip, show the new designs, like Shiki's power. Everything is very much like what you would expect for the most part coming out of, like, up until the point where the fights actually happen. Like, up until, like, the more bigger secret stuff that we've gotten. Like, whereas... where's Archmon's body? There he is. Come on. Give me that mount. Where's... No. Nothing. Nothing. Anyway. Let me see what... I think that... I don't think that's it for Celine. How they can beat the 100 Years Quest if it ends for Celine. Well, I mean, they can still finish the 100 Years Quest, but it, like, wouldn't... I guess, like, Igni would get partial credit, but at the same time, if... I mean, that's true. It'd be, like, there's... I'm trying to think about this. Because, like, would it get counted unless somebody on their team does something? Like with Selene, I don't think Selene's gonna end because there's still a lot of stuff that Selene has set up that's important. Like the stuff about the, whatever it was that she was trying to find to kill the other dragon gods, the negative legacy that Elefseri was talking about. I feel like that has to come back. That has to be something relevant, and it's not just gonna be something that we see mentioned and then never again. Like if we just had like the vagueness of like the human weapons and stuff, and then stuff lost throughout history, that's like we could easily have, oh, that's a maybe, Mishima does this, sets it up, and then we could get a movie or something, or it could be an additional arc in the anime when they get to it, stuff like that. But when they mention specific names, the negative legacy, whatever it's going to be in the officials, like that is something very clear of will be within reasonable distance of this story, not something that we're going to have to wait 5 to 6 years in the anime for. I don't think that'd be a little too much. I need to go to Orgrimmar. Let's just run this way. And if you're making Jalal and Urza homage character, I kind of want him to make like a merge, like a merging of their characters. Like I think it'd be cool if like in the next series he does them flipped to where the blue-haired character, the blue, I don't know why I'm saying the blue-haired character, the I-marked Sieg, or I guess the first one is what, Mugen, but you know what I mean, Jalal, Justice character is the female, and the male is, the Urza remake. It sounds bad when you say remake. Redirection, reimagine, you know what I mean? There's like, everyone just says it's like a remake, but it's like he takes an idea that he had, tweaks it a bunch, and then flips it in another direction to make that interesting, like, opposing mirrored point. I feel a lot of people don't get that, which is weird because you have series where like that's part of the whole build. Like what is it, the Fate series? But somehow people only want to slander Mishima about it. But whatever. It seems most of the Diablos would be good except Misaki, Karen, Admiral, Scullion, I guess. I mean, I assume that they're all going to be out of the. Or you mean they'll just be good? Well, none of them have really been evil. Like, the one that's been the cruelest, I'd say right now, has been Misaki. Misaki's had the most kind of just sadistic side to her. Next Mishima series confirmed. Well, he said he was planning something. He had an idea. I remember Mishima said that it was like in an interview like way earlier in Eden Zero, I think before the anime, and he said that what was the exact word? He said that he had like an idea for more of a old Knights and Kingdoms and Castles style of series, which I think would be really cool. I think that'd be a lot of fun because Mishima usually sticks to like kind of more mixed up stuff. Eden Zero has been way more focused than any of his other ones. With Fairy Tail is obviously way more set for way more set for fantasy. There's obviously stuff that peers out of general fantasy, but for the most part it's very magic fantasy. And well, not like older style, kind of like in its own unique style, but it does obviously have less things like technology and whatnot. Whereas like Rave Master was like a mix of stuff. Like there are some technological things in Fairy Tail, but like Rave Master was just like, he did not care. He had, why am I, oh, I went to the wrong place. Okay, that's fine. We'll go to Ice Crown. It's a way more mix of like everything. Like it's not like Fairy Tail like where it has some technology. It's like no, there's technology, there is magic. Like everything, like there's a lot of things that exist in the world. It's just like they're all kind of separated, and sometimes they meld into each other, which is really cool. Like they're like the power systems are also strange. Like there's that one guy when they go to the Tower of Din. I forgot his name, but his whole thing is literally just like he has a weapon and he has like telekinesis. Like, he doesn't have any crazy powers. Like, he just has, a something that's pretty unique to him. He uses it in a neat way. Or it's like how you have silver claimers, and there's just people that can manipulate silver. Fairy Tail have their knights. Yeah, but like, way more kind of like how Seven Deadly Sins is a good example. Where it's way more of that Arthur, not like straight Arthurian lore, but that, like, knights and castles theme. Be like if how there were way more characters like Urza. Like, characters like Urza were more standard. Whereas Urza's thing is she is kind of a different... Like, Urza stands out a lot amongst wizards because there's not a lot of magic knights. Kieran attacks people with a coffin. He's a villain. I mean, they seem like a villain so far. Like, keep this in mind, he was nice to Laxus at the start. He wasn't fighting him seriously. He was making jokes, and he even said that he wasn't even gonna actually like put him in the coffin. So as far as we knew, like, he had multiple opportunities that if he was like serious, he could have killed Laxus, but he didn't. He seems way more. He just seems more like a kind of crazy guy that's not all bad. Strongest Dragon Slayer Let can be in his dragon form. See, the problem is like that area of Ravemaster doesn't have nearly as many big jumps in power. I mean, he could. It's hard because like I'm trying to think with the way that I can't just give him like someone really low and like make it seem weak. But it's like most of the Dragon Slayers are either like people like from Diablos scaled up from like fights like big Spriggan end fights, and I don't think he could do anything against like people that were Spriggan tier. Let me think. I don't know. Can he even beat any of them? Because like the dragon, like Led's dragon god form was strong, but it wasn't anything that crazy. Like it never did any absurd feats. It didn't have any like crazy hacks. It has a very short time limit. Because out of those bosses, I can't, like, what were they called? I can't remember exactly their titles. But like out of the four, you had Jericho, Ashura. Oh my god, well, Uta, I think was the guy's name. Uta, and Megiddo. Megiddo was by far the most impressive. We knew he was the most powerful. Jericho had like ice hacks, but she wasn't that crazy. Her like ice skeleton was just like really dangerous and really useful. Ashura's was obviously like he had all that hacks, whereas like with it Uta, he just seemed physically strong. He wasn't that impressed. Like I still remember that fight. It was not that. Like, the bad guy wasn't nearly as impressive as I think he should have been. Which was a shame, because Let was such a cool character. And I felt like his last fight should have been better. I've always thought that. It's kind of like how Musica at the end was like Chad, where he kind of just got sent off to go do something, instead of getting a proper final battle. I mean, life-draining stuff could make it even more broken. Oh, you're talking about Percival? Yeah, Percival's ability is really neat. I'm wondering if it has like less to do with his power, you know, gets magic from, you can draw power from hope from his allies and stuff. I think it's more of like an emotional thing where his emotions apply different things. Like say like, you know, he can, when he's in a more like positive, like good state with his magic, he's healing, he's using his magic to give life, whereas like in the negative point, he's using it to take life, and he's just absorbing magic from stuff. I feel like it's one of those things like how there's like a double set meaning to each of the sins, and seemingly the Four Knights, how like their titles are a double on their powers, but also has something to do with their past. I remember Quan telling me that, and I never noticed that, and I thought that was a really neat feature.
Remember, heroes, fear is your greatest enemy in these foul halls.
I hope we learn interesting stuff about Aknoella's character. Oh yeah, I forgot she's there. I actually forgot she's there because I've been so interested in the clown stuff. I'm really hoping that she gets good treatment. I'm wondering who she's gonna be like opponent-wise, and like what is her lore stuff, because she's really weird because of the fact that like she should have deep lore connections and important stuff in the story because she's the one that makes all the robot dragons. But when we see that, what is the what essentially would the follow-up be with like, what exactly do you think the follow-up would be with that? Like, what else could she really have? Because we don't have anything deeper with the robots other than they were the dragon robots, other than they were guarded Dragon Falls. Unless she's gonna maybe connect that question, like, oh, I've been doing this for X reasons, or there's some kind of like bigger around that. Well, I never saw this one. Jalal, someone just hate on Jalal. Speaking of standing out for me, Damaria's standing out. If you know what I mean, you're just happy about Demaria. Maybe too many anime are being made. That's why 100 Years Quest hasn't gotten a trailer yet. I mean, they've been pushing stuff out. Like, we have... remember how long it took us to get, like, a trailer for Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man? Chainsaw Man's was even really short. The recent one we got, we haven't even gotten, like, a full trailer, I'd say. They've been pushing trailers, I think, later, depending on the quality. I think that the ones that I think the anime that they want to get out as fast as possible they will probably try and like build up the hype for earlier. Whereas lately, at least lately, the animes that have had longer wait for trailers end up having better animation. And again, I feel like they have to make 100 Years Quest seasonal. They can't do it weekly. They cannot do it weekly. It would destroy everything. You would get caught up so fast. The animation would look weak. There would have to be so much filler to kind of set it up, and I don't want that to happen. Like, they would have to do so much filler. Like, they keep this in mind. 50 chapters. If they 50 chapters like a year. Actually no, because it'd be logically at least 2 chapters an episode. They do 1 year, that's 100 chapters. That's up to Ignia within the first year. That can't happen. They would destroy it. It'd be so stupid. I'd be upset and enraged. And I don't think they have the foolishness levels to do that. Logically, each Dragon God is going to be about a season, and we should logically get one of each a year. So like we would get to like season 4 would be like where we're at now. Season 1 would be Ermina, season 2 would be Drasil, season 3 would be Elantir, and 4 would be now in the Dogromag Labyrinth. On Twitter, you said Nero could have lost his title. So lost his title and ran away, but like you mean he could have retained some of his forces. I mean, maybe like a couple people. Maybe we could have like the logical way that we could have had that is we then get the old oceans, and maybe they're the only people that stayed with Nero. Because like the difference between Georg and Nero that I think is really big is that really determines the value lost. Is Georg was cool. I love Georg's design. Georg's badass looking. I much prefer his design and what we got versus what we got from Nero. Like factually, I like Georg more, and I was more interested overall about him more. But factually, all we really had to know about him is the formation of Diablos. Maybe some of the stuff of like leading up to 100 Years Quest and his own personal lore, but nothing larger scale. Like all of it is very contained, obviously, with him. Because like when you think about it, it's going to be okay, making Diablos, meeting the members, where it got to now. The most interesting thing for him would be how he got dragon slaying magic in the first place. That would be interesting. But when you look at Nero, you know, like look at all the stuff Nero would know. Nero should know stuff about all the other members of Galactica. He should know stuff about Ziggy. He might have even been around to like before maybe the Dark Stars or something. Maybe he met them. Maybe he would have seen like specific points where Ziggy started to kind of fall. There's a lot of stuff that I think value-wise Nero could have given over what Georg could have gotten. Georg's is way more contained to like directly where his character connects, whereas Nero expand, like he potentially could have expanded to a much larger sense of the story and many more large-scale like characters and events. That's why like I think Nero's was more of a loss. Plus, I really like the idea of Nero being like this. Like him being this freaking robed, dice-wielding wizard who teleports around and like kind of just uses different attacks at you. I think he could have been so much cooler. Luckily, Shura was in the arc, but Wendy versus Judara, I mean, doesn't he just do one of his like truth-seeking things and he can erase her? Like that just comes down to a hacks thing, I think, at that point. And like I think Wendy has ways of dealing with like absurd hacks people like him. But like when you start and one of his normal attacks is a one-shot, and I think Wendy would probably get hit by it. Or at least I think she wouldn't be as like directly aware of dealing with something like that at her level. I think she'll eventually be fine with something potentially like of that caliber, just because like Irene seems to just be giving her broken absurd abilities and like weird ways that she can adapt. Like the whole conceptual enchantment. Like say if she fought like Irene, obviously like there's some power stuff going on between Judara and Irene. I don't want to get into that, but she could realistically, logically, with how her abilities work, enchant the concept of those truth-seeking orbs into her magic to where her magic had those effects. Like stuff like that is how someone like Irene or eventually Wendy can just be continuously relevant, even in cases where like their opponent is stronger, just because of their moveset is so dangerous. Justice Berenjal? Absolutely not. No way. Like, out of those people, Sieg is really cool, And Sieg has the best. I mean, Sieg is the only Sieg is the only one that has an ending for him. But Jalal as a character is superior in literally every aspect. Literally every aspect. He's better written. He has way more story stuff. He has way better fights. It's not even close. I just realized I realized wouldn't act off an idea where Mother is because the first dragon we see flying next to Mother's. That's true. What if that was her? What if that was the reason that she's doing it? Is she wanted to send out these robotic dragons to eventually find them, or to eventually find Mother? Like, what would be really cool is like, what if we got to a part with her, and then it's that specific dragon comes to her and gives her the information that I guess the dragon, whatever, that dragon crossed Mother, and like they were able to figure out her coordinates. Like, imagine they're all like drones and they're picking up and just getting the information down, continuously documenting like places where Mother has been and stuff like that can help track her down, to make it so like, okay, we know where she's probably going to be. Kind of like your own way of getting past needing all of her different ethers. Which is another thing. I just realized we haven't had anything on that plot in a while. That plot point. Why Ignia didn't kill all Team Natsu? Because what do you mean? See, Sam, I think you are either a bot or somebody's dupe. The whole point is he wanted Natsu to get stronger. If he kills him now, then he misses opportunities to do any of that later. He just wanted to get him riled up. Why would he try and enrage him if he didn't think he was ready? If there was any point where he would do that, it'd be at a point where he would be confident that Natsu would be able to give him the fight. Because if he kills all of his friends and then he's not strong enough at that point, even with that boost to what Ignia wants, then Ignia's gonna be pissed, because that same moment of rage is gonna be used up and he's not gonna have it anymore. There's the whole like different kinds of ways Natsu could lament, obviously, and get revenge over time, but that initial spark of rage that's gonna be the most pure is not gonna be there anymore. Like, you gotta actually think about the characters. You can't just say words to complain. Who have wasted potential? Zancro, Georg, and Rusty Rose. Oh, Rusty Rose wasn't wasted. Rusty Rose is just somebody that had more potential. Like, him and Zancro both had more stuff than Georg. Georg, like, Zancro got about what he was fine with. There's stuff you obviously can do more with him, but you can say that about a lot of characters. There's just a lot of different really neat ideas you could have done with Zancro. And so Rusty Rose had the whole stuff part in the anime with Margear and Kyoko. The only one I'd say was really wasted was Ivan. Ivan's the only character I'd outright say is wasted, because you have to, for a character to be actually wasted, there has to be no real beneficial way of their character existing in the story. Whereas Georg had all the stuff, obviously, with Celine, building Diablos, getting the 100 Years quest going on his end of things, obviously, not in general. I wonder how old he is, actually. I don't think it was ever mentioned there was a time frame with him. I would assume that it'd have to be in the last couple years, because it showed him initially at that point with his beard, and like even when he seemed to be making his skill to have his beard and like everything. Unless he's just as like kind of like Eleftheria, where he stopped growing. I wonder if there's a connection between them that we don't know about. Like similar to something like Mest, where it's like messed with memories. Like, what if Georg and Eleftheria were actually the same person, and it's just they're split or something? And that's why the 100 Years quest is like has it from two different fronts. Maybe that might be a video. You think Ignia had minions, or he flies solo? See, like, it makes perfect sense. Like, this has bothered me. This has been a question that's bothered me, because like it makes sense why he would and wouldn't, because like obviously like this dude who kind of just does things on his own is this big just dragon of unrelenting destructive fire to just do whatever he wants whenever he wants and have no alliances. Makes sense, but it also seems like with his character it would make sense why he would have a human form like this, where it's like some form of tribal deity. And it would also make sense of why he would do it, because like he would, I think he would want to be somebody that would be worshipped. He seems to have a very high opinion of himself, similar to Alderaan, but more in like a chaotic kind of way. So I really would like to believe he would, because Otherwise, it's what, that point when we go to him, it's only going to be Ignia? Or, like, is there going to be anybody for Natsu, or sorry, for the rest of the cast besides Natsu to pretty much get a fight? I don't get the same vibe reading Fortnite's Apocalypse I had watching Sin, Hendrickson with Dean Power, 10 Commandments, Esco, and Orlos. Well, was it too cool now? Lancelot is cool, but I actually like a lot of the Fortnites. I've enjoyed it. I like the setting and the pacing a lot more than Seven Deadly Sins. The thing is, Seven Deadly Sins just started out like with crazier power and stuff, and had a lot more like hype fights. But it's starting out way more of like the story, getting information out there, and really building up a lot more with Fortnites that I like over Seven Deadly Sins. Like, I still like both. I would say though, my guess is by the end of it, I'm gonna like Fortnites more. I think Fortnite just has more of kind of like that build that I like. I'm not the hugest fan of when stuff moves absurdly fast at the beginning. Like, that's one of the things I'm sad about with Mashal, is like Mashal's already getting closer to the end, because I mean, he jumped tiers so fast. Mash starts out so powerful, and it's similar to like Saitama, where you're just seeing him slowly kind of like let out more power over like continuously in the story. It has more of a plot reason in Mashal, which I like. But at the same time, like, just how fast it's gone, we're, you know, gonna have, what, like, 30 to 40 more chapters and the series will be over. Like, I wish it was at least, like, another 100. Separates him from Juby. I mean, maybe, but I'm like, at that point, Wendy's gonna be, like, lower on power. But then she has to deal with, like, I guess if you count them at that point, like, Madara no longer in the fight. I don't know. That's a weird one. Because she technically can do that. Even though Shura was the best villain in the war, do you think Ziggy has moments in the arc, especially since he killed Wedge? I mean, he was cool, but I mean, like, I don't think he should have really been there outside of the fight. I kind of wish that part never happened. I still really, really would have preferred if her death was with Shura. I think that would have been so much better. That abrupt, like, scene that there was nothing they could do about it. He was just too slow, and it could have built, like, oh my god. To me, that was such a, like, it was still, like, how she went down was fine. Like, I wasn't mad about it. I wish that she had more stuff, just because I felt like it was kind of abrupt. But, man, do I wish it was instead Shura that killed her, that scene when Shiki comes in. Because that had to be, like, my favorite panel in the whole arc. Like, Shura looks so menacing. That, like, how little there was in the panel. Like, it was just kind of him standing there. And that, again, that moment, this would be like something I imagine the anime where the music stops. The music stops, and it's just one of those moments where Shiki has to take the reality in. And it's just him realizing that that's it. Like, he can't do anything. Because I thought that's why they had, like, the stuff with Cat Leaper earlier, to take away from that, so she couldn't undo it. Because I like, Mishima's done a lot. I gotta give a legit criticism real quick. Not to Mishima, to Tabata. One thing that I think Mishima has done better is with power, like those get out of jail free kind of powers. You can do something crazy, you have a way to kind of undo it. You have Cat Leaper, you have Rouge. The problem is Tabata now has multiple ways to kind of like fix situations too much. And because of, I'd say Charmy is the one that really needs to go, not Mimosa or Vanessa. I think it's absolutely Charmy, because like, that was what I was really hoping was going to be the ending of the Spade arc. I thought that Yami was going to die, and it was going to be like, you have all these OP fixes, but no mana. And it could have been like, I don't know, Asta could have erased mana in the area. It could have just been that they were out of mana. And it was one of those things where we had the option to do it, but there's nothing we could really do. And it would have made sense if there was no mana in the area for them to even absorb back, because of Asta and anti-magic, to kind of make it that kind of like dark, tragic end. And that would have made the stuff with Lucius even better. Like, I was still fine how they went, because obviously, like, Tabata was doing a very serious Island style vibe, where it's like, shortly after every time that you thought things were kind of safe and okay, they immediately got bad. Like, bad stuff immediately followed up. But yeah, I wish so bad it was Shura the one that did it. I wish that was that, and then Shura lived, and he comes back later. Like, Dragon Joe hasn't got his return, but it's like, okay, well, Shura has his age. He's a enemy that also has Satan gravity. Like, Shura is like, it's like Zancro all over again, but if Zancro if Zancro and Hades switched places of, like, importance and quality. Like, Shura, I'm hoping so bad Shura lives somehow. I know I'm probably just getting my hopes up, but I'm hoping so bad he's alive somewhere and we actually are going to see him again. Joel don't have feats to match Laxus Urza combined. I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, do you just mean in general? I mean, Jalal has better feats. Jalal was like withstanding physical grip from space with time, Akanogi in his dragon form. Like, he absolutely has the feats. And he has a huge arsenal. And he's even blocked attacks from Aknologus. So he's got the feats. People sleep on Natsu power-wise as if he's stronger than the big three. I mean, I think now, I think there were arguments and stuff to be made a while ago. But, like, after he's still, like, he was still standing from Suzaku's attack that bodied human Selene, I think Natsu's got it. Because he still is growing. There's still a huge amount of power that Natsu hasn't fully achieved or gotten to the point of, like, actually being able to harness at will. And there's going to be a lot of stuff we're going to be seeing soon that I think is going to, you know, really hammer that home. Like, the massive gaps right now we're getting in those jumps. Like, right now it kind of just feels like Natsu, but it's Natsu being, like, that chunk above the rest of the main cast makes sense at this point, considering all, you know, literally everything we know about him, all the stuff in the story, and the fact he's the only one that logically should be 1v1ing a Dragon God by the end of 100 Years Quest. He absolutely should be fighting Ignia one-on-one. So Ignia makes a mistake, like, oh wait, let me read that, it's probably gonna not be good. Like, Aknologia make Natsu strong to get his ass beat, but he doesn't care about that. He doesn't have a goal, like the end goal where it's for sure he wins. He wants that fight. He wants it to be until either one of them dies or they both die. Ignia isn't doing this to beat him just to be like, I'm the strongest now, hooray, now I'm in charge. That's not what it is. He literally wants to destroy everything in a final Armageddon-style battle with Natsu to see who's the strongest. This music right now is very appropriate. Like, them... Oh, I'm gonna use this for a video, actually. Like, clip this. Not clip, but I gotta note this. It's from Ice Crown Citadel. I'm outside Syndragosa's area. I need to remember this, because that was a very appropriate music for what I was talking about. People were... I just read this one. True, that would have been very menacing and tragic, but if Witch died to Shura, she would have done less as a character. Oh, but at that point, that's not what her value is in. At that point, it's purely on emotions, because a fight... Think about it like this. A scene that is instead not done as, like, a big shonen tragic end. Like, she had more of, like, the big emotional tragic shonen end. A scene like that where it's just... reality sets in, he wasn't fast enough, he didn't make it in time, and there's nothing he can do anymore, would have been less on, again, a grand thing, and it would have been more on... It would have been way more of a human set kind of scene. And it doesn't matter at that point what Witch's personal stuff was and, like, what her character was, because it's not supposed to be some grand end. It would have been more on, like, Shiki's feelings towards her and, like, what it does, because I think that that gap between, again, a grand finale win, or grand finale ending, and just life comes at you fast kind of a thing, it's a completely different kind of vibe and follow-up. Like, think about Igniel. It's not the same thing. Like, Igniel didn't have tons of stuff. Like, he didn't have a ton of backstory and, like, ton of, like, scenes that we had to really kind of get him more tied to us in the events outside of, like, directly to Natsu. But, like, look how it was handled. And I think that's how Witch should have been. Whereas Witch was way more in that grand finale ending, but she didn't have a lot of the stuff for her character to really have. Like, I don't think her character should have had that kind of ending with how little she's really got to do throughout the story. That was my biggest issue with that, is I think she deserved more, or the first way that she went down should have happened, because I thought that was a way better decision. Because it's not like, oh, it's a dark thing. I don't think darker means better. I think that with the way that Shiki is presented, the whole fact that, you know, that humans and machines, like, when you look past, obviously, you know, flesh, and then you look at, like, the mechanical parts, and you start getting into, like, ones with personality and consciousness, and, you know, have what would be considered a soul just based on who they are and stuff, and having a personality, behaving the exact same as a person. When you get into that kind of stuff that, like, obviously we've had in Eden Zero. But it would have been way more towards something like that for Shiki, and way more kind of I think way more to the core concepts of Eden Zero, and that's one of the reasons I did not like it that much. It was not an ending that I think was. I thought that the first way was better for the series and better for, pretty much better for the characters. I would have preferred it that way immensely, way more. Natsu is just crazy strong, strongest demon, and have evil flame, Atlas flaming. I wonder if there's going to be any more fires he consumes. Like, if there's going to be anything additional he takes. Like, maybe there'll be another fire dragon thing. Like, what I would really like for Ignia, and this could be another video, potentially, because who knows, is, like, what if similar, like, opposing, I guess we're all more, like, opposing to Acnologia, how Acnologia had the village. And it's one of the reasons I think maybe Ignia has people. Is, like, what if he has his own village with humans and dragons, but it's, like, because it's less of, oh, I like, you know, he's for them, versus, like, oh, you know, there were dragons I wanted to protect, and there's some people that worship me, so I decided to kind of keep them close. So Ignia has essentially formed something similar to what Acnologia had, and then at that point, like, obviously more dragon attacks would be sick, but if maybe, like, one idea to kind of, again, contrast that kind of similarity between him and Acnologia is similar to the original Acnologia. You have this old fire dragon, like, ancient. Maybe even, like, maybe that could be Ignil's dad for all we know. But, like, an ancient dragon who's just been alive for who knows how long. And Natsu eventually eats his fire. I think that'd be cool. Add that as, like, this primordial dragon flame. That's the only way I can think you could do something like that. But, like, stuff like that would really depend on Ignia. That's really going to depend on, like, what exactly Mishima wants to do with him. What's going to go on exactly with his personality and his backstory and stuff. With this flying bitch. Oh, you know, there's light drain this guy. Sunfire. I mean, that's the possibility. The thing is, because, like, there's one dragon god left, logically, and that's the Sun Dragon God. Which will either be Ignia or Natsu. It's going to depend. Ignia might evolve up to the point where becoming the Sun Dragon because of the whole sun tattoo. Maybe. Maybe he'll go eat the sun. I think that'd be hype. Or just go up there and absorb the sun. There has to obviously be something he does with it. Let's hope I get, let's hope I get Invincible. Finding a dragon, a fairy. Well, I mean, like, we've never seen, like, a legit fairy. The closest is we've seen kind of, like, story stuff. I guess you can kind of count the one in Zero. But, I mean, like, an actual one confirmed by the characters in it, and not just, like, what could be, you know, something visually for the readers. I guess you can... now, I don't want to get into the argument of whether that fairy in older parts of the series is real, or if it was just, like, a visual thing. I don't want it. That's not a conversation I want. I like the Black Clover. Anyone you think have died in Rave Master that didn't? Any, like, that have died? I can't remember anybody in Rave Master that died that I was, like... There was no way that they were gonna die. I'm trying to think, because, like, some of the characters, like, it was usually, like, one of those ones where it's, like, I think some characters, like, I usually, like, only go with, like, shonen when there's, like, a death, like, a mainstream shonen with when there's a death flag. That's why I thought Witches would have been great, because there was nothing that really, like, indicated she was gonna die. There was no red flags. It was all like, okay, we're gonna get there to save her, do her thing. It was so abrupt. And that's why I think it would have been great. With like, there's a lot of other stuff, like, even with Ignia, like, it seemed like that those red flags were there. The red flags were there for them. I don't think the red flags were there for Witch. And I'm gonna be, you know, I'm gonna be personally a little grouchy about how Witch went down forever. Not like, you know, it didn't ruin anything for me. Like, it didn't diminish the arc. Because obviously, like, we knew already that she was still alive when she got to the ship. I just think her death could have been way better. So is it possible Natsu could be planetary in the series? Natsu's already planetary. The thing is, bud, Natsu already, like, shrugged off, like, not like straight shrugged off, but he already tanked and was still standing an attack that bodied human Selene, somebody who's fine messing with 2 planetary bodies at once. Just flexing. Just flexing, she's able to mess with planets. Large planets, because like if you actually look at the comparison of how big the moon was when she made it large compared to how big it was, and then you look at like our moon compared to Earth, she made the moon way bigger than Earth. And on top of that, she was messing with Fiore, or not sorry, Fiore with Earthland, and that's by itself again a second large planet. Yeah, Fiore, but it's like we only saw it in Ermina. Messing up our own names. Ignia has a village of his sun worshippers. We haven't seen anything from him yet. That like Ignia is in that odd area where it's like again he couldn't. By the way, have you heard the theory that Jalal is the son of Viernes because Viernes' last name means something in Spanish and Faust had dragon armor? Maybe. Well, the thing is like that's weird about that is Faust is Edilus Makarov. Like he's Makarov in Edilus, which is again also very weird because that means that like what exactly does that mean for whoever Jalal's dad is? Is it Makarov? I don't know. I mean, it could just be a completely separate person. I would be alright with some weird connection. I don't want Jalal though to be a dragon. Like if Jalal gets dragon slaying magic through dragon eating, that's the only thing that I think could make sense, unless like we have something that's gonna actually show us like him learning it. Probably not dropping. Never gonna get invincible. I gave it to my brother, so it's never gonna drop for me. Him burning time is universal. Well, no, that's a concept thing. I'm not gonna go into that. We're both fans of the Batman. What villain would you like to see in the next film? We talked this a little bit, I think, last stream. If I had to pick somebody, like, so the problem is like it's the same thing. I don't want to pick anybody that's very specific. I think the one I wanted, I'd be Ra's al Ghul. I'd love to see like actual good movie-long depiction of Ra's al Ghul with the Lazarus Pit. Whether he's like the direct villain or like the side villain, that's all I care. 24, nobody cares. One Piece isn't as hype. Like look at Kaido versus Ignia. Ignia already is like being more of a menace. He's already been a better villain. He actually is like prepared to kill people instead of hit people with his big fucking wiffle ball bat Kanabo. Like I don't know why he can't kill anybody with this damn thing. He's got this massive badass looking Kanabo, but he somehow can't kill a single damn person. He couldn't even kill Kinemon. Where's your green fire? I don't like the green fire. I want there to be red fire. Like I obviously like that. You know that's my color. I feel like I've expressed my favorite color is red. You can probably look at my transmog. The green fire is cool. The problem is I would like the green fire, but like I would want it on specific spells. I don't want it on everything. I think it would look cool. I would like a different color. Like Impending Catastrophe like has like my favorite like animation for anything, and the colors are really cool. And I wish it was more of that kind of like maybe like a reddish fire, or if there was something additional. One of the things I think WoW should really capitalize on in the next expansion is cosmetic stuff like that. Do more like fun little cosmetic things for people's classes. And it seems like they're trying to focus a lot on classes in the next expansion, so I'm hyped. Because like this expansion was not very good, but there's a lot of bare bones stuff in the next expansion I really am interested in. If he could use plank temperature casually, he'd be... Well, he can't use it casually. Both times Natsu's powers ever gotten to that high end, he has burnt his own body because his adaptation can't keep up. Gajo should be the one connected with Viernes. He has a backstory that could definitely expand upon it. I think that there should be something that eventually happens there with Gajo, and that might be why Mishima brought Gajo over. But I don't want there to be anything that kind of directly ties Gajo to Viernes. Like, unless it's like... Viernes used to own, like, maybe he used to run a city. Maybe he was a dragon or something worshipped in a city, and Gajo was from that city before it got destroyed. Something like that. That's the only thing I can really think of. I don't want it to be, like, any one-on-one connection. If it's like, oh, well, Gajo's, you know, somebody from that city, and maybe that's why he was, you know, picked up by Metallicanas. There's a specific reason why, like, you know, he's from a group of people that have a better connection with metal. That's, you know, and that's, oh, we'll just boost it. This is World of Warcraft. This is in the retail WoW. I gotta actually real quick, let me shill again because we got more people here. I was gonna stream on my Twitch, but I gotta get Streamlabs Pro, I think, to stream on both at once from it, and I'm not spending any money on that right now. So I was just gonna stream on YouTube for now, because I mean there's gonna be more people that show up to talk, to talk and ask questions on YouTube, and I figured, well, I'll just as it's going, I'll just pitch my Twitch every once in a while. Right now I'm just doing kind of this, like in the game, like I go in WoW and I go like try to farm mounts, or I'll play like some games of League of Legends. But I'm planning on doing that more for VODs, and so like, if it's like 1 a.m. or something, because like my channel's not very big right now, I can just kind of do it, put it on there, then I have, it's that content, it's recorded, similar to what I could do with League, and then eventually I can play like more newer, kind of more fun games that people would be way more interested to watch, like during normal stream times. Is this guy here? No. I'm trying to think of what. I'll go to Karazhan. So I gotta go to the I'll go to Silver Moon. Last time I went the completely wrong place that I wanted to, but I guess it kind of worked out. WoW didn't come out in the 90s. Well, that was like Warcraft. The MMO came out in, I think, 2004. And they've been like updating it and doing stuff. This expansion, though, was just not very good. Musical lost to Reina. Gray managed to be with Juvia, and now we'll see Wise will lose Hermit or not. I hope not. I don't want to lose Hermit. I like Hermit. So Jalal's Makarov's son, so Jalal is Lax's uncle. There's like a lot of weird stuff that like that would connect to. Because then it's like in Edalus, who's Makarov's grandpa? Or sorry, who's Laxus's grandpa rather? If it's not Makarov, because in that world he's not Makarov. It's so confusing. No, I'll not download any Twitch. Oh, I was saying that you want to download it. I don't think they have the app anymore. I think it's just in the browser. I guess maybe you meant like the phone app. That's fine. I'm not telling you, but they have to. I'm just kind of shilling it out there. Rex, I can dual stream. I can't even do one. Well, you can stream. You'll get there, bud. I don't know what you stream on, but I mean, yeah. I just need to. Apparently, I need to get this stupid Pro, but I'll get that eventually. I don't really need that right now, because it's like, I'm not doing anything special right now on my channel. It's mostly just kind of doing this. And I feel like I would logically get more of like my regular people for now, and then eventually I'll start kind of pulling in more viewers and see what else people want. Dang, let's read some. Urza versus Jalal, who wins? Oh, I think Jalal right now would win for sure. Like, Jalal's not going to stand there with Misaki. Like, obviously, like, if you took him in character, you couldn't really have him fight. But if you just went off of feats and stuff and did all that, I would definitely put it on Jalal. Let me talk to this respectable individual. We'll go down here to Stone of Sorrows. Or Swamp of Sorrows. Go to Stoner. We're not gonna see Edalus Laxus. No, he died, right? They mentioned it, right? I don't remember if that was an anime only thing, but I remember that Laxus in Edalus had died. He had been lost during one of the times they were running away from the Edalus Kingdom, like all their forces. I very much remember that conversation. Now that conversation is brought up because they said the Master and then they said Laxus, so he was also obviously like he was probably being like the pseudo guy. What's your thoughts on the Four Knights anime announcement? I mean, as long as they don't give it horrible animation, I'll watch it. I like Four Knights. Shaw would even get to use magic to beat most of the verse. For what verse? Are you talking about in the Fairy Tail verse? I mean, most of the verse is fodder. Like, really, when you think about the people now, even the relevant people, that's like what? Diablos is, what? I'm just going to throw a number out of the top of my head. Whatever, 8 or 9 people out of millions and millions in the world. Sure, Dorio or Hades, who's the best villain? I'm gonna pick Hades, dude. You can't do that. Hades had the lore stuff. He had like the first raid, biggest, like his was like the first mega fight of the series. Doryu has his own like massive fight, and I thought we would have one in Eden Zero by now. Maybe that's up and coming. But like Hades had so much lore stuff. He had like stuff that was expanded upon later, including stuff like Lumen Histoire, obviously stuff in Fairy Tail Zero. It even had like a brief comeback. His ideals were the most interesting. I like Mishima was just essentially like had him in this like weird pure magic world version of Wizard Hitler, and then he like sprinkled some Odin and Hades stuff in there, and like it made practice just so cool. He was just this such interesting big old dark wizard bad guy that we got, and it was so badass. Like Shura and Doryu I love, and like it's funny when you compare the three of them. Doryu has by far the least amount of like large scale story importance, or at least like large scale like also story impact, I would say. Like his fight was great. But I love Doryu. Doryu's like my favorite character in Rave Master for the bad guys. Potentially my favorite in the whole series. Because like his backstory was good, like his design, it was very, very understandable, but very kind of like very grounded and personal. And then he has like this sick wizard vampire dude. He was badass. I love Doryu. And sure, as I mentioned, like sure one man carried the bad guys for that whole arc. One man carried all of them. Like it wasn't even close. Urzabit, Jalal, and Alderaan arc. No, she didn't. Like that was all kind of goofy stuff. Tomboy Escanor, Gwen. Oh, thoughts on Gwen? I mean, Gwen's fine for now. I mean, there's nothing about her that I really dislike. She right, at least as of right now, her like whole like complaints about men. I mean, she's not like Soul. Soul is like that version where like my annoyance starts to come out, where it's just like you're just doing it for no reason. So far, Gwen seems to obviously have like whatever her stance on men is. That seems to be a little negative, but she's not like Soul, where Soul has to just be jerks to random people just for being guys, and it's just like, get out of here, go away. And it makes more sense also like in Seven Deadly Sins to have like sexism versus Black Clover, because people in Seven Deadly Sins, like there are women with magic and that are powerful fighters and stuff, but there are those kind of barmaid women and like weaker, non-magical people. Obviously way more of them. It's way more common for them to be more set kind of like real life people, especially in that time period. Whereas Black Clover, it's all determined through magic. So, there you have tons of women with like powerful magic, and they've had like female wizard queens, and there's characters like Charlotte, Marileona, Dorothy, like all these like strong chicks. It's not just like they have, strong wills and stuff. It's more of like they're outright powerful, because physical strength would have never been like the determining factor of like their world. It'd be way more of the magical quantity and like what they can do with it and their magic and stuff. So like sexism just doesn't really make sense to exist, I think, in the Black Clover world, because obviously like in real life and stuff, it stems from like events in history where like it was way more old fashioned. Guys were obviously doing way more physical labor and do way more just like stuff that made their builds way bigger by default. And I think they said that like humans have gotten, like a lot of guys have gotten shorter over the years. Like the average like was taller back in the day, and people were just bigger. Whereas like none of these things would be in Black Clover, where it's like it should all be magic. So it just, sexism always just felt weird in their world. It'd be like kind of like, I mean, racism in their world is more of like race and not like ethnicity. It's like literally elves and demons and stuff. Whereas like I don't imagine it would really be that much of a problem outside of that. It would pretty much just be probably like issues with kingdoms, I think, rather than issues with ethnicities in our world. So that would probably not make sense if they just all of a sudden had like human to human racism. As far as the Mishima villains go, I think Hardner from Remaster is super underrated. Oh yeah, he's really cool. Hardner is a menace. Hardner is kind of like Shura's position in Rave Master. Like he's not the biggest villain, but like the time he's around, that dude is causing havoc. Like he's just running around, kind of like, not the same. I guess Mardgear wasn't the same. Mardgear didn't have that same like he's like personally out to ruin lives kind of thing, where it's like Shura and Hardner both just, they would see people happy and they'd scout and they'd be like, I gotta finish this, I gotta take care of this. Mardgear was just kind of like things that intrigued him brought him over there, and he had things to do with them. And like, that short, my brief way of like looking at it. Jalal's great. What are you talking about? Like, just Sam. Like, I swear this, I don't know if he's a bot or what. I don't really care. Pretty weird that Natsu would go 100% go with the rumbling. Pretty weird thought, but no, Natsu would not go with that at all. Like, Natsu's not about killing random people just to kill people. He wouldn't go with the rumbling at all. Like, the thing about it is, like, Eren doing the rumbling is a stupid idea. All he should have done is send out a couple Colossal Titans, because he had, like, what, millions? Send a Colossal Titan to stand outside of the border of every nation on the planet, and then all he has to do is have a letter or something then followed up by it, some form of messenger to say, like, hey, this is what's up. You guys start anything, we're going to end it. So, essentially, like how nukes and stuff are, where it's like, because other countries have nukes, like there's not, you don't have the same kind of scale wars, because it's, everybody has to keep each other in check. Where it's like, Eren would be able to one man say, none of that shit, no wars. He would be able to become a monster to force peace. I think that would have been a way more logical way for him to go about it. And I think it would have been more badass. I think him kind of becoming like this flex god on his planet would have been cool, because it also wouldn't have been like outright just power levels. It would have been like him doing it from like a political warfare standpoint of being like, using force essentially to press down all these other hostile nations. I think it would have been cooler. I think it would have been a way better way for him to go. Percival needs a new design. He's a main character, but looks so goofy. Yeah, it was like he had some parts this chapter where he had some cool main character shots, but it's like he's like 3 feet tall and his sword is like the size of my forearm. Like it's like, it'd be intimidating, but it doesn't look that big. It's just like a regular human forearm, and it's like, think about that for a sword. But it's like it looks big to him, but like he's just short. Like, I wonder if, like, we're ever going to find out why Percival's short. Like, is he a gnome? He dropped Attack on Titan after 4 episodes? Jeez, you must not like that. I feel like Attack on Titan is overhyped, though. Would Natsu have killed Shura if Shura almost killed one of his friends? I think Natsu would have killed Shura. I think Natsu definitely would have killed Shura. Like, even without the idea of killing one of his, like, if he hurt anybody, if he killed anybody, not his crew, like, that's the E&D time, not Natsu time. But I think Natsu would have killed him, because Natsu's gotten to that point that Shiki doesn't have, where he knows some people are worse to be left alive. And that's one thing. I was talking to somebody the other day about, like, why I know I'm going to be bothered once Luffy versus Kaido ends, unless Luffy kills him. Because you can't just let Kaido go off and do stuff. It's like, how they let Frieza roam around. Let him just, like, stay to himself. How many more people are they going to lose their lives because of this guy? Like, Frieza immediately went back out enslaving planets. Nobody's doing anything. Goku's watching TV and eating cereal. Here's Frieza running over, like, entire, like, cultures and, like, enslaving worlds in his empire, and nobody's doing anything. I think that's so weird. But it's like there's a whole description of, like, well, Luffy thinks it's worse to have them live on knowing their dreams are crushed. It's like, not really, if they end up killing more people while, like, going down that the fact, oh man, I didn't get it what I wanted, and then how many more people die in their wake, just kind of like through that point, of losing, and whenever they actually die, where it's like Natsu knows somebody like this has to die. If you let somebody like this go, more lives are going to be lost that could have been saved. And I think that's a big thing with where you would draw the line for killing. And I think Natsu's is very realistic in how it's depicted, because he's not just like, oh, you're a bad guy, got to kill you. He knows things like this, like people like this rather, are going to they're going to kill again. They're not going to learn. They're not going to change. And leaving them alive is just going to, it's just going to cause more death. And it's like, you could kill them. That just takes one kill away from the world. And there's that whole thing. It's like, if you kill a killer, there's not less killers in the world. There is if you're a guy who keeps killing killers, because then it's like you're always going to be that one killer and you're going to keep taking off one. But again, how many people would you save taking out somebody that's, again, just a horrible, horrible individual who's going to just, probably go back to being a murderous tyrant? Probably go to Impel Down or caged up like Dofi. I don't want that at all. Let him, like, Luffy needs to kill him. I don't know how he's going to do it, but the thing is, I don't really think he can. But I think he needs to. You can't leave Kaido alive. Kaido is going to go back to hurting people, and he's going to go back to doing other things, unless he's just become so whipped that he just stops. But that would just make his character look like a pussy. Like, there's, like, losing, and then, like, eventually seeing the error of your ways, and there's just, like, you know, becoming, like, being so down about a loss, you just become completely nerfed in all aspects. That would be dumb. Where Kaido fit? What do you mean? Just in general? Oh, just an Impel Down. Wait, what happened to Blue Note? Blue Note's probably locked up. We don't give a shit about Blue Note here. Blue Note got beaten and probably is locked up. Veritable rule for killing is just anyone who isn't human. That's not true. It's not the issue of humans. It's at the point where we got to it is Natsu hasn't gotten to many times where he's had to kill an on-human. The closest really is when he was fighting Zareth. Well, we don't have many times where he's going to even be fighting a relevant human where he's going to come to that standpoint. Like, anybody, like, there's, like, any human that's really that much of a threat to Natsu, it would have to be, like, what? It would have been Georg. Georg's not there for that anymore. He's not around to be in that position. When becoming plot armor saves everybody, Wendy hasn't done anything like that. So far, legit, Sam, the only thing you've done is complain the whole stream. You haven't said anything positive or explained anything. I'm going to have to dub you a clown. Shiki right now might be like that with Ziggy unless having the LC. I could see that. I could see like Shiki, like maybe like Shiki is aware that if anybody like is gonna kill him, it has to be him. Maybe that's kind of what he's gonna go more with instead. I don't know, like, but I feel like Shiki has less of a reason, I think, to have that line that Natsu has. I think Shiki should, like, Shiki, I think with his profession and like how, you know, his whole like value set is, he doesn't have that whole like thing about life that Natsu has, and Natsu does really value life and like the way that people live, even hardships and like stuff about like forgiveness and redemption. Shiki never went down those pathways. Those aren't the stuff that is like deeply rooted in his character. I think right now it's going to be more of like, it's going to be something he thinks he has to do, kind of like probably like what Natsu is going to have with Ignia. It's something that Shiki believes if somebody's gonna kill Ziggy, it has to be him. Not just from I need to do it, but like if there's anybody that can do it, it is me. I think that's gonna be like a multi-layer kind of like way he personally views it. And doing 100% of the rumbling and living with grief is a great ideal Attack on Titan ending. No, because like the rumbling in itself was stupid. The rumbling in itself was a dumb idea. It would be like if you're like, man, we're gonna cause peace, so we're gonna nuke the entire planet. No, because we don't have world peace. So I'm not gonna say that like world peace is going on, but I can guarantee you that if we looked back prior to like large scale military and especially nukes, if you looked at how the state of the world was in, it was way more chaotic and way more of like a just absolute like shit fest. It's still bad now, but it's gotten better. One second. There was a dog in here being upset. Yeah, what I was saying is, where was my train of thought? What were we talking about? Oh, the rumbling. Yeah, the rumbling I think is just a bad idea. Like, you don't immediately jump to that high-end thing that not only didn't solve anything, it just set them with a more, like, large-scale enemy later that they're going to want to, like, get revenge on the Eldians. There's going to be tons of people that want to get revenge on them for what they did, because there's going to be ways to connect it. And it's like, even people who are irrationally going to do it, there's going to be people who hate them, again, despite helping. They're going to still blame them. Natsu would clap Kaido so easy, it's not even a fight. Like, he would put Kaido in the dirt. Like, the power gaps are just too big. Here, I'm just going to time out Sammy's being annoying. Put user in timeout. He's grounded. He was talking about killing, and I don't remember what happened to Blue Note. Oh, he just fried him up. Blue Note wasn't in that line where Natsu was just going to kill him. They fucked up the ending. Yeah, I didn't like the Attack on Titan ending. Well, what about Batman not killing the Joker? Well, the Batman's, like, his thing is all about how it's a slippery slope and deciding, and, like, how, like, you know, the whole, like, you know, being a killer, or like, what is it, killing a killer would make you a killer thing, but Natsu doesn't care about that. That's at that point, it's a different of ideologies and different like way that the characters really see things, which again, it's like you have to understand like how Batman thinks, but it is like at the same time it is a bad idea. Like it's like how Luffy obviously thinks it's gonna make sense if he doesn't kill Kaido 100%, but I think that it's a bad idea to do it. It makes sense in the story, but I think it's a oh my god, it's of course it's bugged out. This motherfucker. I hate this one. This one bugs out sometimes and it just is so stupid. They're just not gonna die. It's just for some reason gonna be just fine the whole time. Goddamn Karazhan. Still bugged. Nothing they have planned to do. I wonder if I can even get hurt by this. We'll just stand here for a bit and see. What happened when Haru hesitated to kill Lucia back when the Star Visage War started? He had him dead to rights but couldn't finish it. Yeah, like there's those times where you have to be realistic. Like there are those moments where I think reality has to set in, and you have to really kind of look at a scenario from a larger scope. Rather, like Natsu. And again, it's one of the reasons I think Natsu is really underrated. Is Natsu said that he doesn't like to kill people. He wants to have a good fight. He wants to just have a fight between two people that is gonna be a fun battle, and it's gonna be fun and entertaining. And they're going to see who's the stronger, more badass person between the two of them. Whereas he doesn't like killing. He said he realizes that some people like you have to kill. Like some of them you can't just leave alive because of where that's going to go. And I think I've always thought that was a really matured look to his character. Because that is a thing. Like there are people I think that you have to put your own beliefs aside and say like, yeah, like you got to deal with this guy. Like or like I feel like there's tons of people that would never kill anybody, but you give them a button that would have killed Hitler, they would have done it. It doesn't matter if it obviously it means they have to kill somebody. They know how many people that would save if you ended up dying before like the Holocaust or something. Obviously that's way different of like real life stuff in game stuff. But it's one of but the core is like one of those things where there's that line where you have to be realistic with things. You have to say like, yeah, this guy has to die, and there's going to be way more death. More people are going to there's more death that's going to come about of me letting this guy live than me taking this guy's life. Yeah, like the whole stuff with Batman's like justice and like it has a lot obviously to do as well with like his outlook on killing and taking justice in his own hands to that extent. And Injustice is one of the stories that does that really well at showing that slippery slope of like deciding who to kill. Natsu's more like if you have to go, you have to go. I mean, it's more of like he just knows. He just knows like the draw, like what exactly the other option will lead to of letting her live. Like what is it gonna what's the damage of killing this guy versus letting him live? Where are these two gonna go? I would never kill Hades. I mean, Hades is sick. I'd never kill Hades. I wish. Well, I mean, like Hades dying. I just wish that Hades had like one more time to come back before he died. Like he lived. We see him after the time skip. Maybe looks a little different, a little older, more powerful. But he has a moment like with that where he does die. But I mean, like I'm not going to complain about how it went out because I mean, that part was it was really cool. Which I'm surprised Gray didn't kill Invul. I know he got mad at Andy, but Invul is in Gray's mind, killed Juvia. Yeah, I think it was my belief is that it always just been because Invil told him what he told him. That was pretty much the only reason Gray wouldn't have been like, I'm gonna finish you off kind of thing, or like get his full revenge, because he just directed Gray towards Natsu like what he wanted. That's exactly what Invil was trying for in the long run. But anyway, we've been going for about, well, let me finish this place. Let me die. Actually, I don't know if anybody wants to see this. This is good. This can be a good ending for a short stream. This is a good way to end it all. In this stream, end it all. But it's like dark way to end up going about it. And like my guy's literally trying to die because this damn thing is bugged. But anyway, we'll talk more later. I gotta do the Eden Zero 4 nights and still gotta do the Doron video. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys later though. And then if you want to become a member, there are member exclusive stuff coming up. I'm going to do a new poll in the next few days. I got to get ready to do this old tier video. I've got 4 members so far. You could become one of the next ones. It's only $1 to $2 a month. There's only 2 tiers, and each one of them just come with extra perks. like, and then I guess the streams. I'll probably do my streams like on YouTube where I'm gonna do just game streams or something on here, in a members only one, and maybe that's how I'll do it with like those smaller streams, and then the poll votings for videos. So if there's a character you really want in like a set vote to do, want to help direct whatever video comes next. The next one's gonna be an ult tier, and I'm gonna do that after I do my chapter videos for this for these last 2 days, and then we'll get to the nice ult tier stuff. Anyway.